Hey, welcome back YouTube. I'm doing another video today. This is redstone with Godfrey. As you can see, I've got myself a nice set of lights up in here, and they're all very pretty. But what is so special about these lights, you might ask? And that is to say, during the daytime, they will put themselves out. That's right, these are daylight sensor lights, and I've put them all throughout my floor. Now, you're probably thinking, how has he done this? That's probably why you're watching my video. I'm going to admit, I had to do it in flying mode. You can do it in survival, but you will need to fly, or this is going to take you forever. This doesn't necessarily have to be done one block below. You can do any number of blocks below, guys. Any number. The only difference is you'll have to make yourself a redstone staircase. So as you're seeing here, if I do, well, you can't do it this block, obviously. Otherwise, you won't have the space to put your floor block in. It has to be at least one block, otherwise you can't put in these redstone lamps. So I'm going to show you guys my messy one, and then I'm going to show you how I cleaned it up. So this was me first figuring out that repeaters will actually extend a power source. And this section here is a daylight sensor set to daylight sensing, hooked up to an inverter. So an inverter, I covered this in my last video, is a block that has a torch on one side and just dust on the side. So what this torch is doing is this dust is bringing power to this block, where then it powers off this line because there's a powered torch. As soon as, this has no power because it's not sensing daylight. As soon as this senses daylight, this will power on, which will power the block off, or which will power on the block, there we go, and turn off the torch. I knew there was a reason. And then all my lights go off. So as you can see, this first bit here, it looks pretty messy, honestly. I wasn't 100% sure how to do this cleanly when I first did it. So I hooked up my daylight sensor, I started hooking up my one set of lights, and then what I was going to do was continue to wrap it around, as you see here, and then just continue doing a wraparound type of pattern like that. But I hit a couple of issues with this last line. I wasn't going to end up wiring it. So as you guys are seeing here, if you didn't already know, a repeater will extend a redstone line. So that means that I only have one initial power source and one initial inversion source. So that's a power source, that's a power source, that one will negate this power source, turning all of this off. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that time I played it safe and just did the minimum space between the inverter, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So normally our redstone would have cut out here if we, or here actually, if we didn't have this repeater, because it would be 11, 12, 13, 14, or 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So what a repeater does is it literally just takes this and reiterates the signal back through everything else. So as you've seen, all you have to do in order to wire these up, I put a block of redstone below, and then a redstone source leading into each redstone block. The reason I did this, these aren't sunk into the floor, as you can tell. There is a lantern above every one of these, is because a redstone lamp will transmit redstone from its base source upwards through the redstone lamp. So say I wanted to, this should power off my torch. Yeah, exactly. So because there's an active signal in the redstone lamp, the torch instantly powers off because it can't power downwards, and the power is transmitting up into this negated torch. Just to give you guys an idea as to what's actually going on here. And sorry guys, just gonna, there you go. So that's the messy one. Admittedly, it is very messy, and then until I started to clean it up over here. Daylight is coming, so we will soon see these lights switch off in our fancy-dancy. So this was just a connection between two platforms, so I didn't have to make an additional power source. It would have been easy enough to make another power source. I just was feeling lazy and didn't want to do it. So I wired this all in. This first one, really, I didn't have to do it the way I did. I could have put a block there and a block there, and it would have looked a little bit cleaner, but I'm not about to delete it now. So what I did is I started just doing straight lines down from my one baseline. This is my baseline, sorry guys. So right here, this is my baseline, the one line that the power is actually running from, and then it just runs in 4 different rows, all beside each one of the redstone lamps, where each one of them has a redstone connection and obviously the repeaters to extend the connection. So there you go. So I'll show you guys what I was talking about. This repeater will have been at the maximum space, so if I put a piece of dust down here, notice how all of this has a very weak connection and these actually are not connected at all. That is because we are at the maximum 15 space capacity, so what we're going to do to fix that is just knock out a block and stick down a repeater. There you go, nice strong signal. And daylight's coming, so we should be losing our lights pretty shortly here. So a little bit about the daylight sensor for those of you who don't know anything about it, or for those of you who just don't really know what it does. The daylight sensor has a maximum power source capacity of 10 blocks. As the sun gets higher up in the sky, the redstone signal will get stronger. So about midday, these lights should turn off. So realistically, I mean, I should put my daylight sensor probably right about here. Just do that kind of guy. And then it's a nice short line, so this, as soon as the moon is gone, will have a shorter distance to power up that. In which case I'm actually going to run it out of here, just again for the sake of space conservation. So as you guys can see, because this is my main power source, anything past this power source and hooked up to all of this redstone is still connected. So these would be midday lights. Obviously I don't want daylights. So we're just going to extend this out this way with a daylight sensor. And voila, there you go. Your lights are now off slowly because there's a bit of a delay. And there you are. Those are the trapdoor switches that I've been, or not trapdoor switches, the light switches that I've been the most fond of. Obviously you guys don't have to make this sort of pattern or this sort of spacing or anything like that. You just need to make sure that you have enough room to, okay, say you wanted to wire this up differently. You wanted to wire up a 4x4. So what we're going to do, we're just going to stick this away. Oh, I already had redstone lamps. So you want to wire up a 4x4, but you don't know how, all right? And it doesn't obviously fit with my pattern. So what you're going to need to do is make yourself some redstone first. Probably need a repeater here. Sorry guys, just bear with me. So you've got your T-shaped pattern there, and then you're wondering how in God's name you're going to wire it all up. And so just like I've wired it here, you would make a small square shape underneath. It doesn't have to be as wide out. You only have to go one past these. But then again, you won't have redstone lamps here, so you don't have to wire around redstone lamps. You could make a really tight, compact square that leads right around this. And just like that, and then you're going to stick a power source there, and voila, you have your lit up lights, just like that. So obviously if you want to extend this and attach it to a daylight sensor, you just extend daylight sensor, flip, and you will need, oh, right, sorry guys, you're going to need an inverter for this. So what that means is you're just going to need to place a block here with a torch down on it. Anytime you want to use a daylight sensor or like a moonlight sensor, you have to have the sensor on and then an inverter so that this cancels or transmits power to the block. So right now, so the reason it's being finicky right now is because this is so close to my torch. Say I wanted to drag it out a little bit. I'm not actually going to stick with any of this as a build design or anything. But say I wanted to just drag this out a little bit, you can go a maximum of 10, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then this is where the connection gets really picky. So there we go, we've got our daylight sensors on, and it's working completely fine. And then as soon as we flick it off, it is now a moonlight receptor, so these would be daytime lights. And then again, you come over here, you can flip them at any time. If you want lights in the day and the night, I would suggest putting your daylight sensor somewhere accessible. The daylight sensor is probably one of my new favorite items, and it's basically for time scheduled events. What I wanted to do was, sorry, that's just my 2-port cutlass, which would make an awesome castle bend, I might add. I actually don't know where I'm going here. Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. I don't know why I need 64 empty maps, but, whoops, right back where I came from. So some fancy things you can do with the daylight sensor. I haven't quite found a easy way to clean this all up yet, but, basically, this is a rising staircase. Obviously, it is piston operated, as we can see down here. And the only thing interesting about this is this double piston extension right here. In order to do a double piston extension with daylight sensors, what you have to do is make sure your bottom signal is the one that's going to run out of power first. So how you do that is make sure that your top signal has the longer, weaker signal. The reason it will do this is because when a daylight signal is activated, sorry guys, this one here is activated because these are night lights, so it's a day inverter. So as you can see, there's my inverter. So what happens is what are you doing, Bentley? Sorry guys, my husky's being weird. So what happens with the daylight sensor is the further it is away, the lower the strength of the initial, or of the power. So what that means is the further this is away, the weaker this connection is going to be. Which means as soon as I lose my sunlight here, or as soon as I lose my moonlight, because that's an inverter, this bottom one, because it is a longer, more tenuous power source, it will drop first, and that will keep it connected to my second sticky piston, which will then drop, and the staircase would normally be there with the sticky piston. However, this one is not, because I forced the day setting to change to night, or the night setting to change to day. So essentially what would happen is this would be extended, actually this I believe, yeah, no, this still would be extended up one, and then you can make that jump, and then you can climb all the way up to my castle here. So there's a lot of different things you guys can do with a daylight sensor. I haven't figured out everything that can be done with a daylight sensor, but I am thinking that I could probably make a floor-operated trap door that will only power on at night. And while I have you guys here, I'm actually going to do a second redstone tutorial. This is a build that, actually, no, I will not. I will end the video, and then we will wrap this up with another video. Hi, Bentley. Actually, lucky you guys, you're going to have this wrapped up with a husky. Oh, still on Zoom. Bentley. Bentley. There he is. Alright guys, it's been wonderful doing this for you. I hope you come and see my videos again, and I will catch up with you later.